I stood in the shadows watching the guests smile and sip champagne, waiting for a groom who'd never come. They didn't know the truth, not yet, but she did, and soon the whole fairy tale would collapse. I used to believe life gave us exactly what we deserved if we were kind, loyal, and worked hard. That belief shaped everything I did, especially the way I loved her. Her name was Mia. We met 3 years ago at a friend's engagement party, one of those crowded rooftop evenings with string lights and laughter floating in the air. She spilled red wine on my shirt by accident. I laughed. She apologized. We ended up talking for hours on the balcony, forgetting the party even existed. Mia was the kind of woman who made people stop mid-sentence when she walked into a room. Not because she was loud, she wasn't, but because she had presence. She was smart, confident, and carried herself like she knew exactly who she was. She made me feel like I could breathe easier just by being near her. And when she looked at me like I was the only man on earth, I believed it. Within a year, we moved in together. We built routines, morning coffee, Sunday hikes, midnight drives just to talk. People always said we were perfect for each other. And honestly, I agreed. I'd never felt more certain of anything in my life. The proposal wasn't grand, just us, a quiet lake, and a ring I'd been holding in my pocket for weeks. She cried, I did too. It felt right. It felt like forever. But looking back now, there were cracks I chose not to see. Little moments, like when she'd suddenly go quiet reading her texts, or how she'd brush off certain questions with a tight smile. I chalked it up to stress, wedding planning, work, life. I wanted to believe that love, real love, could overpower all doubt. So I silenced the voice in my head and focused on the future, our future. A week before the wedding, everything still looked perfect on the outside. We were picking out music, tasting cake, texting each other cheesy, almost husband and wife messages. But I didn't know the truth then. Not yet. It happened on a Tuesday. I was at my desk, replying to emails between phone calls about the wedding venue. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen, expecting something mundane, maybe the florist, maybe Mia. But it wasn't from anyone I recognized, just a random number with no name. The message said, "Thought you should know what your fiancé's been up to. You don't deserve this." Attached were 4 photos. At first, my brain refused to register what I was seeing. It was Mia in a bar kissing someone who wasn't me. Another picture showed them walking out together, hands clasped. The timestamps were from just days ago. My hands started shaking. I told myself it couldn't be real, maybe a lookalike, maybe edited. I stared at the screen so long my eyes burned. I tried to breathe, but it felt like someone had crushed my chest with a cinder block. I called her straight to voicemail. I drove home without thinking. My heart was in my throat. She was there, curled up on the couch in sweats, sipping tea and watching some mindless show like it was any other day. I held up my phone. What is this? Her face dropped. She didn't deny it. She didn't even pretend. She just closed her eyes and whispered, I didn't mean for you to find out like this. That sentence stuck in my head more than anything else, like this. As if the problem was how I found out, not what she did. I stood there frozen, not knowing whether to scream or break down. Instead, I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't say another word. I just left. That night, I drove aimlessly for hours. Part of me wanted to believe it was just a mistake, something stupid she regretted. But another part of me, the part I'd silenced for so long, whispered something darker. Maybe you were never enough. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, haunted by her silence, by her eyes when she got caught. The wedding was 6 days away, and I had no idea what to do. The days after the truth came out didn't feel real. I moved through them like a ghost, half aware, half alive. I couldn't eat, I couldn't focus. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with him. I kept replaying that moment on the couch, the way she didn't cry, didn't fight, didn't beg. Just that quiet, pathetic sentence. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I hadn't told anyone yet, not my parents, not my best friend James, who was supposed to be my best man. I wasn't ready for their questions, their pity, their anger. I didn't even know what to feel myself. Every night I lay awake in my apartment, our apartment, staring at the empty space where she used to sleep. I wondered if she missed me, if she was sorry, if she was still seeing him. I hated that I even cared. Sometimes I cried, silently like a kid hiding from the world. Other times I just sat there numb, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sun to rise so I could pretend to function again. Then came the calls. Mia tried. She left voicemails, sent long texts full of pleas and I messed up and I love you. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I didn't know what she wanted me to say. She'd betrayed me, broken something I thought was unshakable, and yet a small, foolish part of me still missed her, still loved her. That was the hardest part. I put on a good face when I had to. I told work I was taking a few days off. I told my mom we were finalizing details. I told James I was just stressed. I lied to everyone because I hadn't decided what truth to live in yet. I wasn't ready to call off the wedding. I wasn't ready to go through with it either. I was stuck halfway between heartbreak and denial, hoping the right answer would somehow find me. But deep down, I knew something had already shifted inside me. And there was no going back. By the fourth day, I couldn't take the silence anymore. I needed answers, not closure, not forgiveness, just something to help me make sense of the mess she left behind. So I texted her, "Meet me, just talk, that's all." We sat in her car at a quiet overlook we used to visit when we needed to think. The view was beautiful, too beautiful for what we were about to tear apart. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept either. Her hands fidgeted in her lap. For a moment we just sat there, the silence stretching between us like a wall. "Why?" I finally asked. She stared out the window. "It wasn't about you." "That's not an answer," I said, sharper than I intended. She sighed. "I don't know, I got scared. Everything started feeling too real. The wedding, forever, and I felt like I couldn't breathe." I wanted to understand. I really tried. But all I heard was I got scared, so I ran to someone else. I asked, "Did you love him?" "No," she said quickly. "It wasn't like that, it was stupid, a moment of weakness." A moment of weakness. That phrase kept echoing in my head, like what she did was dropping a glass or forgetting to turn off the stove. But what she shattered was me. What she forgot was us. I stared at her, trying to find the woman I used to love, the woman I wanted to marry, but all I saw now was someone I couldn't trust. She reached for my hand, eyes wet. "I'm sorry, I wish I could undo it." I pulled away. "I don't think you're sorry for what you did," I said. "I think you're sorry you got caught." She didn't deny it. That's when something shifted in me. The pain was still there, still sharp, but it had company now, clarity. For the first time since that text, I could see the truth for what it was. No more excuses, no more waiting for her to fix it. She broke something I could never glue back together. I got out of the car without another word. And this time I didn't look back. The next day I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the tux hanging by the closet. The one I'd picked out months ago, smiling like a fool in the mirror, picturing her walking toward me. Now I didn't know whether to burn it or box it up. The wedding was 3 days away. People were calling nonstop. My mom wanted to confirm the seating chart. James asked if we were still doing the rehearsal dinner. Mia's maid of honor texted me a playlist. Everyone was moving forward like nothing had happened. But everything had happened. I hadn't told anyone yet, not because I was afraid, but because I was trying to figure out what kind of man I wanted to be in the middle of this disaster. Part of me wanted to call the wedding off publicly, expose her, let her stand there in front of hundreds of people and feel the humiliation I felt every hour of every day. But another part of me, the quieter, heavier part, didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. I kept thinking about who I'd be if I went through with it. Not just the ceremony, but the marriage. Could I look at her every morning and not wonder who she was texting? Could I ever feel safe loving her again? No, I knew I couldn't. So the choice was clear. I couldn't marry her. But I didn't want a big announcement, a dramatic cancellation, or pity from guests. I didn't want people comforting me in the aisle or clinking glasses awkwardly at a canceled reception. I wanted to walk away on my terms. No yelling, no chaos, just gone. Let her walk into that beautiful venue. Let the music play. Let the guests rise. Let her turn and realize the groom never came. Let the silence speak for itself. That night, I stood in front of the mirror and looked myself in the eyes for the first time in days. This wasn't about her anymore. It was about me and the kind of man I refused to become. The rehearsal dinner felt like walking through a dream I was no longer part of. Everything was perfect, too perfect. The venue was glowing with candles and fairy lights, just the way we planned. Our friends and family were smiling, laughing, clinking glasses like it was the happiest night of our lives. But inside, I was miles away. Mia greeted me with a soft smile like nothing had happened, like we were still the same couple we used to be. She reached for my hand. I let her take it for show, but my fingers were cold and still. James stood beside me, going over the ceremony schedule, making jokes to keep me relaxed. He didn't know. Nobody did, and I felt like I was drowning in a sea of people who only saw the surface. Dinner was a blur. Every bite felt heavy. Every toast felt like a cruel reminder of what could have been. Mia gave a short speech, sweet, emotional, even a little funny, and I watched her with quiet disbelief. How could she do this? How could she stand there and pretend, knowing what she did? But I didn't react. I just smiled when I had to, nodded when someone said, "You two are perfect," took pictures, hugged relatives, pretended. It wasn't cowardice, it was control. Because the real moment wasn't tonight. It was tomorrow. After the rehearsal ended, James caught me outside while I was taking a breath of cold air. "You good, man?" he asked, his eyes squinting through concern. I forced a nod, just nervous. He clapped my back. "You've got this. Mia's amazing. You're lucky." Lucky? I nodded again, but something in me broke a little. Later that night, I stood alone in my apartment. The guest list was printed. The vows were written. My bag was packed, not with wedding stuff, but with clothes and a one-way ticket I'd quietly bought that morning. I stared at my reflection one last time and whispered, "Tomorrow it ends." Not just the wedding, but the lie. The morning of the wedding was quiet, too quiet. I woke up before the sun, the world still dark outside my window. No buzzing phone, no last-minute texts, no nerves, just a strange, steady calm. The suit hung untouched on the back of the door. My shoes were polished. My vows sat folded on the nightstand, unwritten lies I never planned to speak. I made coffee, sat on the edge of the bed, and looked around one last time. This was the place we planned our life. We picked paint colors here, argued over couch cushions, laughed until midnight. It was full of us. But now it just felt empty. By 10 a.m., guests had started arriving at the venue. I got updates from James, who was already there, texting casually like it was just another day. He didn't know I was halfway to the airport. I wasn't dressed for a wedding. I was in jeans, hoodie, sunglasses, anonymous. At the gate, I paused. It would have been so easy to call and explain everything, to tell Mia why I was doing this, to warn her, but no. This was her moment to feel the weight of what she did, not through screaming, not through revenge, through silence. She would walk down that aisle with a bouquet in her hands, 100 faces staring, the music swelling. And no groom waiting. No, I do, no forever. I pictured her face when the realization would hit. The confusion, the fear, then the shame. Let her carry it. As the plane took off, I looked out the window. The city grew smaller beneath me, just lights and roads and memories now. Somewhere down there, Mia was standing in front of an altar we built together. And I wasn't there. I didn't need to ruin her publicly. I didn't need to scream or make a scene. I just needed to walk away, strong, quiet, and clear. Because sometimes the loudest thing you can do is leave without a word. And that's exactly what I did. I landed in a different city before the ceremony even started. I turned off my phone as the wheels touched down, not ready to face the fallout. I didn't want updates, didn't want questions, and I definitely didn't want apologies. I needed space, I needed silence. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The hotel I checked into was small and quiet, tucked away in a city I had no connection to. That was the point. No memories, no familiar faces, just time to think, to feel, to start over. But the silence didn't last. When I finally turned my phone back on, the messages flooded in. From James, "Bro, where the hell are you? The ceremony already started." Then, "You okay? People are freaking out." From my mom, "Call me please, we're worried." And from Mia, a string of missed calls, voice notes, and one long, shaky message. She was crying, at first begging, then angry, then begging again. "You humiliated me," she said at one point. "You didn't even give me a chance." But she had a chance, she threw it away. I didn't reply to any of them that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, letting the truth settle into my bones. It was over, for real this time. The next day, James called again. I finally answered. "Dude," he said, exhaling hard, "you disappeared on your own wedding day." "I know. You gonna tell me why?" So I told him everything, from the text to the photos to the confrontation in her car. He went silent for a long time. "I'm sorry, man, I didn't know." "I didn't want anyone to know," I said quietly. He paused. "Well, I gotta say what you did. It was brutal but honest." "Yeah," I murmured. "I think I needed to be." There were whispers everywhere now. Posts online, confused guests, family trying to explain what happened, but I didn't care. Let them wonder. I wasn't theirs to explain anymore. Healing didn't come with a big moment. There was no sunrise that made everything feel better. No deep conversation that washed away the pain. It came slowly, in quiet pockets of time, like the first morning I woke up and didn't think about her. I stayed in that city for a few weeks. I didn't do much. I walked. I read. I sat in cafes with my journal open, sometimes writing, sometimes just staring at the page. There were moments when I missed her. Not the betrayal, but the version of her I thought I knew. The one who used to leave notes in my lunch. The one who laughed so hard she snorted when we watched dumb sitcoms. I grieved that girl, even if she never really existed the way I believed she did. Grief is strange like that. It doesn't care about the truth, it just clings to what could have been. Some nights the sadness still showed up, quiet, heavy, sitting beside me like an old friend, but I stopped fighting it. I let it come, I let it pass. I started talking to James more too, at first just updates, but then real conversations. He helped me remember who I was before all this, not the groom, not the heartbreak, just me. One night he said something that stuck with me. "You didn't run away, man. You chose yourself. That takes guts." And for the first time, I believed him. Mia reached out a few more times. Her messages shifted from anger to reflection, then to silence. I never answered. Not because I was angry anymore, but because I didn't owe her my healing. I wasn't trying to win a breakup. I was just trying to rebuild. Brick by brick. There was no grand plan for what came next. No rush. Just a quiet commitment to becoming someone I could be proud of, someone stronger, wiser, more at peace. Healing wasn't loud. It was slow, gentle, private. But it was mine. It's been months now. The chaos has quieted. The texts have stopped. People have moved on, or at least they've stopped asking questions I don't want to answer. Sometimes I still get looks from mutual friends, the kind that say, "That's the guy who left her at the altar." And maybe I am. But I'm also the guy who finally learned how to stop abandoning himself for someone else's comfort. The wedding became a kind of legend in our circles. Everyone has their version of what happened. Some say I got cold feet. Others say I had a breakdown. Only a few know the truth, and that's enough. I went back to that venue once, not during a wedding, just to see it again. The same trees, the same path she would have walked down. I stood there alone, letting it all wash over me. There was no pain this time. Just a quiet kind of understanding. That life doesn't always give you the closure you want, but it gives you the truth you need. I'm not angry at Mia anymore. I don't hate her. I don't wish her harm. In some strange way, I hope she's okay. I hope she's doing the hard work to understand herself, the way I've been learning to understand myself. Because the man I am now, he's different. I trust myself more. I listen to my gut. I know that love isn't just about showing up when it's easy, it's about staying honest when it's hard. And if the person beside you can't do that, you walk. Not to punish them, but to protect yourself. Letting her walk into that wedding alone wasn't revenge. It was release. It was the moment I stopped waiting for someone to choose me and finally chose myself. And while the world may remember me as the groom who never showed, I'll remember that day for what it truly was. The day I walked out of a life that wasn't right and stepped into one that finally was.